Oh, righty tighty tighty. See that little piece of metal? It's got a finger in there. I think that's some kind of blade arrangement. It goes into the transit oil pump. So they sit in there. The gear wheel's at the front. That spins round from the engine. And I think you can see one in there. Are they on springs? They push forward. Now there's the gap's wider on one side than it is in the other. So I think what happens is the pump spins round. These little metal pieces get pushed out and they touch between, there we go. Shocking, shocking. There's my finger there, right. So that housing goes on top of this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. And what happened in my pump was, let's have a look at it. It all degraded and turned into swarf. Now I'm actually quite paranoid there's more of this in the engine. The pump, after I took the pump out, it sat with the sump off it for a couple of days, so I'm hoping any pieces of metal would have come down. And I can't remember where that popped out. It got caught between, that's oil pickup. So in here there's a piece of gauze. All these little shards had fallen down the way, which is good. So I'm hoping the pump was pressure, right? They all turned into swarf. Pump was pressure, and it fell down backwards and got caught on the piece of gauze in there. So that's oil pickup tube. I'm not going to be able to see it. I tried this before, didn't I? Nah, you can't see it. There's a piece of gauze in there anyway, which was very, very clever. Right, so that's, is that a catastrophic failure of a Ford oil pump? I don't know. How did I get it off? Right, this is the most preparation I've ever did for a YouTube video now. First thing to do was to take out the sump pan, drain all the oil from it. Then I used a flat-bladed blunt chisel. I even did a diagram for it. On the sump pan, it's not that shape. This is a representation of it. But in one corner of the engine, I can't remember which one, there's a little scallop where you can get your chisel in. Once that side pops off, you just go round about the outside and the whole thing's going to drop down the top of you and cover you in oil. So where have we got to? We took the sump plug out, drained all the oil off it, popped that off. Now the bolt sizes are, they're in here. Now this is a tip. I got myself some petrol. Now obviously be very, very careful. This isn't petrol, this is thinners. I got myself petrol, and any bolts I took out the sump, I just threw them into a jar of petrol, left them overnight, and the stuck mastic expanded off it and came off no problem. So you're going to need an 8 and a 10mm socket. You're also going to need an extension bar and some kind of ratchet. Right, so we've now taken sump plug out, drained oil from it, loosened all these bolts off. Then what? That's the next one. I used a lot of tissue paper. I put a wooden sheet down below the van. Oh, the other thing you're going to need one of these, isn't it? Got to jack the guy up, and I used a couple of van wheels turned on the side to give me space. I need a new phone. To give me space to work below the thing. Brake cleaner, I bought some of that, didn't actually use too much of it. So put a 8x4 sheet down. I was out for lunch and one of the local takeaways were throwing away lots of collapsed cardboard boxes. God was on my side at that time. 8x4 sheet down, lots of cardboard on top of it. Drain this oil, the pan pops out. To get the stuck gasket, I used some Scotch Brite and again soaked that in petrol. The stuff, you can pull most of it off with your hand. Blunt chisel's quite good, then I had various scrapers and little brushes. So cleaned all that up. Doing underside of the engine was a bigger pig, and I think if I was going to do this job again, right, if that's a sump, this should be that way. And this is a profile of this bit here, right? What I noticed is the sump's a very, very well machined thing. And when I separated that from the bottom of the engine, very, very little mastic gasket, instant gasket, I can't remember what the Americans call it, RV something, was actually stuck across that face. Most of it seemed to have been the outside and on the inside. So I think if I was doing it again, if this is the sump and that's down where the oil was, I would clean the engine a bit better where that meets onto the engine and take my finger across the side of it so that the gasket's nice and even all the way around. I bought the gasket stuff from Ford was about 20 quid. The oil pump from Ford was about 70, that was about 20. And then next one, word of warning stuff. This goes into the pump as well. I said it in another video, I think that thing's called a banjo bolt, right? And I managed to snap it. So, went to Ford. When I took that out, I noticed there's a little green washer there. See that? And I thought, I don't know how long that's been in the vehicle. It could have been changed a little while ago. It could have been in there since the thing was built. So, went to Ford, tried to buy that washer. Guess what? They don't sell it. So they sell you the whole pipe. Unfortunately, the pipe comes with a new bolt. I tried replacing the O-ring on it myself, but it was a different colour and I couldn't get it into the thing. So I would say that's a very, very well machined thing. When I tighten, this has to go in first. You slide it into the pump. Yeah, that slides into the pump. You bolt it up. Then you put the pickup on. You could maybe try sugaring it about to try to get onto the pickup, but I found it easier to do that. So then I got a 20 quid torque wrench. These bolts are read on the internet. Don't believe me, don't believe the internet, do your own research. Initially it's 7 Newton meters, then you go back and do it 14 Newton meters, which kind of makes sense. It took me maybe 20 minutes to put the gasket stuff on it, then it sat for another 20 minutes before I put it on the van. I did it up finger tight first, then diagonally, what you do a cylinder head, then I went round it all twice, one at 7, one at 14. I'm sure the torque for these was 10 Newton meters, along with the bolts that go through. There's a metal insert in there, but it's plastic, so you can understand that it won't take a lot of force to hold it on. Right, so where were we? I'm sure everything inside was 10 Newton meters, and the sump was done in 2 batches of 7 and up to 14. Because I hadn't used that torque wrench before, I didn't feel it clicking. Put too much pressure on that bolt and I sheared it. Now, as I said, luckily the kit came with a spare bolt. But that's kind of your worst nightmare. To get it out, I put a drill bit in it, reverse, turned it in reverse, and fortunately that managed to come out. If it didn't, that'd be a nightmare, wouldn't it? I don't know, I wouldn't know how you know, could that have written the engine off? I'm sure there's mechanics that would know ways of retapping holes, but it's a specialist bolt. There's a hole through it for the oil to go into, that type of thing. So how far have we got in the story? We've taken that off, we cleaned all the gasket off it. Pump, the other thing I'll say about this was, look at the bits of metal that come out of that one. One thing I wasn't very sure of, there's a bit of, see that in the holes? They're not bang on the money. It looks as if they've been machined so you can slide it back and forward a little bit. Does that make sense? Right, so there's 4 bolts hold it on. Obviously I've removed the back of the casing. But that looks to me as if that's designed to move back and forwards a little bit, so there must be some way of trimming it. I did look in to try to make sure the chain was accurately on this and it wasn't a bad angle, but I don't know if there's a special tool or something you need to do that, but I'm hoping mine will be okay. So can we spin that and get a look at it? Yeah. Right, so new pumps in, 10 Newton meters, put all that stuff in. New sump plug. Left it overnight. I've heard horror stories about if you go to put the oil in too early and the mastic's not set up, it's going to cause you a world of pain. So I left that overnight. Bought a new one of them, 2 or 3 quid from Ford. Put the oil in, and when I started up, the light went in. We can now see that there's, was that a catastrophic failure? Certainly a failure. The other thing, to get the oil filter off, I tried using an adjustable spanner. I would call that an AG. There's a plastic bit in the bottom, got it to the right size. Because the engine was cold, it kind of started breaking the plastic, and I thought this is going to be a bollock. So I went out and bought this thing here. Gave the filter a little clean, used that and that together, and the thing spun off, no problem. So that's the top tip for that. I also replaced the oil pressure sensor. The biggest hassle was trying to get the electrical connection off, so that metal bar, if you put that on top of the electrical connection and the bit where it presses and pull it backwards, it popped off no problem. So that's quite meaty. That's quite a strong one. There's possible other ways of doing it. It worked for me. I don't know if it's going to work for anyone else. Then I think it was a 22 or a 24 mil socket onto the actual pressure sensor itself. So I think that's everything. It's not a complicated job, it's just an absolute pain in the ass because of all the oil and all that hitting your face. Getting covered in crap and shit. So there it is there, and bingo bango bongo bango. Happy Christmas to everyone. Hope you had a good time over the festive. I look like a man that's been eating too much food and drinking too much booze. January's afoot, going to knock that stuff in the head. So hope that was helpful or interesting to anybody. It's not a hard job, it's a bit of a pain in the ass. The other thing that I've done is I've bought another oil filter. I've not taken the van above 2,000 revs since I changed the oil pump over. I've got another oil filter. I'll put a couple 100 miles on it, swap that over, chop up the brand new one that's in it, and see if we can find any pieces of metal inside the filter. But I'm hoping that's it. Not dead confident, but I've done maybe 100 miles in the van since I swapped that over. So Merry Christmas, thanks for watching. Hopefully this will be of use to someone that's doing it. You go in the forums, right? The internet's a great thing and it's a shit thing. One person could have an issue with a vehicle and that can be amplified and highlighted. Perhaps it was just a random fault on theirs. When I looked at the forums, a lot of people were saying change these between 70 to 100,000 kilometres. I don't know what that is, miles, maybe every 50,000 miles. I think this might be a service item. Could that oil pump have been in the vans for 180,000 miles? Has it been changed before? Honestly, I don't know, but if you've just bought one of these vans, I mean, I think the engines in them are amazing. You're not having to do very much above 2,000 revs pretty much all the time, you know, even at 70 miles an hour, it's sitting around about 2,000 rev mark, so I think they're pretty good engines. According to the forums, not according to me, this is a weak point on the engine. It may be a service item. Somebody doing this all the time, it's not a hard job. If you've got a set of ramps or a pit, you could do it quite easily. The other thing I would say, anytime I took a boat out, I got some toilet paper, soaked it in petrol and cleaned the inside of the boat holes out. It's not that difficult a job. If somebody could do this for 200-300 quid, I'll get them to do it. In fact, I don't think you could, because the gasket's like 20 quid, that pickup was about 20, the metal pipe coming out was about 20. Somebody can do it for 300 or 400 quid. And you want some peace of mind, I would go for it. Make sure you clean the main surfaces properly, be really careful with the bolts, they're not under a lot of pressure, and fortunately, as I say, I'd cleaned the bolt holes out, so I managed to get the shear bolt out easily, but that could have been a bad day at the ranch. Alrighty, tighty. Thanks for watching. Right, bye bye.